Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cybersecurity Recruiter podcast. Today, I'm joined by Dale Hoak. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, Thomas. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's nice to connect. We were on a video call, weren't we? I think you were like between booths at a conference and flying all around the US, and we were like on and off. You were busy anyway.
Last year was brutal. I think, honestly, I was fully traveling 6 months out of the 12. Some of them, it was every week. So it was a big year last year for the company. So I was on the road quite a bit.
Good. Yeah, sounds good, my friend. Sounds good. I'm just going to do you a bit of an intro, Dale, for the folks out there that don't know who you are. Started off life in the US Navy. Did very well, was there for around 26 years, and then came into the commercial world, started off at General Dynamics, Information Systems Security Officer, then spent some time at Cyberproof as a cybersecurity engineer. You then progressed on to management at ECS, and you are now currently the Senior Director of Information Security at RegScale. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. No, it's nice to see you, mate. As we do this show, when I get folks on that are at your level, like especially it'd be nice to hear about your transition coming out of the Navy and then obviously progressing from a IC role all the way up to director.
Actually, one correction there, Thomas. In May of last year, I got bumped to CISO. I don't know why LinkedIn won't let me adjust it, but I've been working to try to get that sorted. So I'm the Chief Information Security Officer now.
Very good. Okay, so even more progression to talk about then. Great, and listen, congrats on that as well, because that's the top job in security, and that's the job a lot of folks listening to this show would love to have. So again, it'd be nice to unpack your journey from IC to director to now CISO. So definitely. But before we go into all that, I'll start where I always start, which is, I know I've done you a bit of an intro, but I can never do it as well as you. So who are you? What do you get up to? And what's a day in the life like these days?
When I graduated, I always knew I wanted to go to the Navy, right? 28 years serving my country, right? Traveled a lot. So I was very proud of that. You mentioned the transition from service to the commercial sector. I got to tell you, that's not as easy as it sounds. And it's been a journey of discovery I retired in 2017, 9 years, and it's been a journey of discovery. And we go through it. Personally, I'm married. I have 4 kids. I live in North Carolina. I own a ranch where we have horses because the kids enjoyed horses. So why not get a ranch and add double the job to the daily struggle? And once you own a farm or a ranch, it has a tendency to take up all your spare time.
Yeah, CISO, 4 kids, and own a ranch, and travel a lot, right? You're a busy man.
I'm blessed to have a fantastic wife who does the majority of the heavy lifting. All I got to do is show up occasionally and move some stuff around.
Cool. So I know you said it was 9 years ago, and you mentioned that transition out from the Navy was not as easy as it sounds. What do you know now that you wish you knew 9 years ago? There'll be folks listening that are going to go on that journey, or maybe even on that journey now. Any advice for those guys and girls?
Sure. So I think that regardless of where you serve, no matter what country you serve, when you're in the military, they take care of you. They make sure you make your doctor's appointments. They make sure you take care of your teeth, and you're doing all your physicals, and you're doing physical exercise all the time, right? There's a program or a regimen to structure your life around, right? And then when you move from that, then all of that stuff becomes yours. So the same thing is for your career. No one is as invested in your career as you are, right? So you have to plan for that transition. If you're going to end your military service, whether you're retiring or you're voluntarily separating, you need to prepare your certifications, make sure you have a plan for that. And if you are pursuing your higher education, make sure you complete it. There needs to be a plan. And I'm saying, if you're going to retire or separate, you need to start working on what your exit strategy is 2 years before. And I think that most people don't look at it that way. Most people look at, hey, I'm going to go to school. That's my plan. Even if you're going to school, or even if you have a job already, there's so many other things that you have to plan for. Your retirement looks different. So I would say, 1, have a strategy, and 2, you can never start planning too early, because no plan survives first contact with the enemy. That's just one of my old military sayings. So when you get out, you're going to have stress, right? There's transition. So you have to plan to make that transition successfully. If you don't plan, there's going to be problems.
Yeah. I think as well, like the commercial world, Dale, can be pretty fierce at first, can't it? You get told one thing and it's different.
And you don't know what you're worth, right? In many military organizations, it's not about the individual, it's about the team, right? So they don't want you to understand your individual value. They want you to understand your value in a team. And there's value in a team environment in every corporation, but you have to understand your individual value coming out so you can negotiate your own pay, so you can understand your compensation packages. Like these are things that are all in a pipeline when you're in the military, but you have to understand your value. You have to prepare your resume, which I still feel as though I write a terrible resume, and I've been doing it for 10 years. So these are things that you have to practice and just perfect over time. And if you need to get help early, right? Because that's just not a standard. Like college prepares, or at least it should. Higher education prepares most young men and women to do that transition through assistance of resume and stuff like that. In the military, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But in today's day and age, do your homework. You use ChatGPT, get some help, professional assistance, and writing your resume for that transition. Because you're absolutely correct. It is fierce, and you're looking out for yourself. Like your mentors and stuff will help you, but you're really looking out for yourself, and you're your own best agent.
It's true. And I see it a lot because in my job as a recruiter now, most of our time is spent at the very senior end of the market, and we're moving around really senior people that are in relative demand or high demand. And I talk to people sometimes at the junior end or might coming out into the commercial world and stuff like that. It's good advice that you give him because many people get told, like, I think certification bodies can be guilty of this. They say, oh, if you get this certification, you'll be fine. And it's not like that, mate, is it? There's a whole other side to it.
And they're helpful, but everybody's got to understand the certification bodies are competitive as well. They want you to pay for their certification. You're going to have to define and develop your own career path. So I built a mind map, right? That was something that I learned how to do. And I built a mind map for my CISO. Like CISO is what I've always targeted since I was a young man, since CISOs have been around, because I've been doing cybersecurity since before it was known really as cybersecurity, right? Since before information security was really a thing. I think you have to take time to build your roadmap and then try to follow it.
Yeah, cool, mate. Cool. I definitely want to dive in your road up to CISO, mate. Just before we do, when you got that break in the commercial world, General Dynamics, is there anything you did there that could help others? Was it just a case of applying, or did you know someone, or was there anything, any learnings?
The hiring manager told me that was the worst resume she's ever read. I believe her, right? Because when I went back and looked at that, I was like, oh boy, that was bad. She knew me, right? Because it was a government contractor position. And she had known me from my positions in the military. So there was some leeway, right? So your reputation and your network matter, right? And that was before LinkedIn was huge. Your network can be huge. And the first person who hired me actually knew me, or at least knew of me, and then was able to mentor me through the resume process, because that first one was pretty terrible.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, you're so right. So many times it's about having a relationship with someone or knowing someone or someone liking you, and it just gives you that break. And I think the ironic thing is that with AI and automation, job advert channels getting noisier and noisier, I feel like actually knowing someone or taking time to build relationships is not a quick fix, but if you have that attitude all the time, it really does pay off. I know with my job, it's all relationships. The job's not easy, but it's a lot easier. If you don't have any relationship, you can't. It's hard to get places.
The higher you go up the ladder, the more relationships matter, right? They matter for several reasons. They matter for when you need to hire somebody, right? You activate your network to go to find that qualified person that meets your requirements because you trust your network, or they wouldn't be part of your network, right? So I think your network is really your lifeline. Then if you have a really good network, you can start bouncing stuff off of your network. Hey, I'm using this vendor, or could you review this for me? I wrote this policy, or I did this, or how did you accomplish that? Friends matter, particularly in this business, and it's a team sport. Like cybersecurity is a team sport from soup to nuts. Recruiting the best talent is not easy, and reliably finding good talent is, I'm sure, is a problem, because we're in a transition period where people are coming out of college. They have these cybersecurity degrees with little experience, and people want everything in the hiring market. They want all of these certifications and all of these qualifications and experience. But the guy's just out of college. So what's the roadmap look like? So
Right.
using your network to find a good team of people, I think is exceedingly important.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, my friend. Over the past kind of 6, 7 years, you've gone from information systems security officer, cybersecurity engineer, to a manager, to a director, then up to CISO. What do you think enabled you to get those promotions and get that progression where others didn't?
So 3 things I think that enabled me to be successful. One, my network. I had great mentors that prepared me for the road and also let me know how easy some things were and how difficult others were. So I knew where to apply myself. The second thing is I understood business value. So I come from a technical background. In the military, you have a tendency to focus on operational importance, but understanding how the business operates is different. So one of my prime objectives now is to, as a CISO, is to maintain the lines of business I have now and find ways to open up new lines of business, whether it's through new certifications on the compliance front or applying different levels of security to different areas in order to achieve certain business goals. Understanding how the business works and having people who could mentor you and how the business works is exceedingly important. And then the value of hard work, right? I think in today's day and age, people think 8 hours is the workday. 8 hours is not the workday if you're going to be successful, right? So it's 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. The office is always open. Something goes sideways, you have to be willing to get on top of it. And you have to understand how to respond in a crisis. Like, I don't panic. Now, I have a different way of learning that, right? I don't recommend going to the military to learn crisis management, but I can manage in a crisis as well. So I think that's one of the things on top. But those are my 3 most important things as I've grown up is understand the business, right? Utilize your network, have good mentors, and know the path you have to travel and work hard.
Yeah, thanks, Dale. Just the commercial awareness side and the business awareness side, that'll be good to jump into in a second. And that's massively valuable. And I think it's getting more and more valuable as time goes on. The hard work piece, I think it does need to be said because there was a time, like there's certain subcultures around the world where people are, it's almost like you're not allowed to say it's good to work hard anymore and stuff like that. But it's so true. I'm massively on the same page. Like you've got to get up and you've got to grind it. If you want to be above average and you want to progress more than the average person, there's going to be times where your life's out of balance. You know, not forever, but there's going to be times where it's massively out of balance. And that's okay. I think as well, I'm sure you're the same. I find that those times when it is out of balance, you can still have quite a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. The idea is there's a work-life balance, but sometimes work needs more application in order to stay balanced. You got to lean in, right? Quite frankly, like my day starts a lot of times at 4:30, depending if I have international calls or something going on, right? It'll eventually balance out. But sometimes that for 2 or 3 months, where everything's tilting towards the side of work, you got to put in the hours in order to be successful. And more importantly, really, in order for the business to be successful, depending on at what level you're performing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, when you talk about the business value, ultimately commercial awareness, I think this is absolutely huge because when we were talking before this show and you were traveling on the road, I'm imagining you weren't talking about triaging things in socks or popping shells. You were probably translating risk into simple terms so business stakeholders could understand it to further the success of your team and your business and stuff like that. And I think that's such a valuable skill set. If I'm listening now going, yeah, listen, Dale, that sounds great, but like, how do I get that level of commercial awareness that you've now got? But where do I start? What would you suggest?
So first is, where's your roadmap? So are you asking how I got that commercial awareness of risk? There's 2 series of books I read written by Gary Hayslip that put me on the right road. And Gary Hayslip, for those who don't know, he's currently a business advisor at Halcyon. He's been doing this stuff a long time. I had the blessing of serving with him. I was active duty in the Navy, and he was a contractor when we were in San Diego. And he basically laid it out for me. First, understand what outcomes you're trying to achieve. How do you get to your outcomes, right? And then identify all the blockers to get there and then score them, right? And that, if you take that, because you can measure anything in risk, right? What are my desired outcomes? What are all the pitfalls of how I get there? And then score them. I just got into the habit early on. I didn't know what I was doing then, but you're really threat modeling, right? So I threat model a lot. It drives my wife nuts, right? So we sit there and talk. So when you think about things at risk, particularly, for example, you're going to buy a horse, right? So when we're talking about buying a horse, we talk about how old is the horse? What are we going to do with the horse? What are these things? So there's a set of decision criteria that you reach. Everything in business has a set of decision criteria. And then as you elevate your game and you get better at speaking with people, then that translates in relations to how you talk to boards about risks and how you really accurately assess risk. And the thing that I say most is be honest, right? Be honest about all of the things. Be honest in your understanding of the risk. If you don't understand, say you don't understand, and then get people in there to help you understand. And that journey really kind of started early with doing threat modeling and risk assessments against things that I didn't know I was doing at the time. And then I just got better over time, right? When I was at ECS, I worked as the security operations center manager for the New York Police Department. And I have to say that was an exciting job, and it was terribly high risk. So you had to be very meticulous about how you did threat assessments, how you did intel analysis, how you did vulnerability assessments, how you handled vulnerabilities, because in certain instances, lives matter, right? So you have to be very good at this.
Yeah, do you know what? It's so true. When you have an understanding of business and you have an understanding of your client's business as well, if I'm recruiting for an MSP and I understand how that model works, I understand the importance of the client facing being as important as the technical. If they've got an attack surface management tool, I understand how that makes money compared to, and it's like all these things. And I'm sure you're the same as me. You see it when you're talking to customers, and you talked about talking to a board. When you can relate things to them because you understand their business, it just makes life so much easier.
I agree. Yes, absolutely. You're 1000% correct. And the other thing really is the ability to speak at the appropriate level. Where CISOs generally are technical, CTOs are generally technical, right? They mostly hail from technical backgrounds. Then you make the transition. I've seen too many times that people talk fast, right, and speak technical. The board doesn't understand that. You have to break it down and speak about technical things and complex things and help to convey risk in a non-technical manner, right? So it's not just about what you're saying, it's how you say it and it's how you frame it.
Yeah, cool. Gary has that yet?
Yeah, the CISO's Desktop Reference Guide. There's 2 volumes, 1 and 2. And I actually have one from here is Develop Your Cybersecurity Career Path. There's another one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good.
You can tell I've been doing this a long time because I still keep books on my desk. I still have a notepad, so it's just old. Once you establish your routines or breaking those routines or finding better ways, sometimes is hard.
It is on the same look, bits of paper everywhere still.
Yellow stickies, pads. It's just sometimes it helps me remember whenever I scribble instead of type it.
Yeah, no, it does definitely. But yeah, no, I think that it all follows into the communication piece and being able to articulate risk quickly, clearly, concisely. And I feel like these skills have always been important. I'd be interested to see what you think there. But as AI and automation comes in more, and it's more about managing, overseeing certain parts of different methodologies, whether it be within the SOC or pen testing or whatever it might be, I feel like the communication piece is just getting more and more important, because that manual element's always going to be there, but it's like all of a sudden I feel like the communication piece is just going to be everything.
I agree. The thing is, I think AI is a great tool. It's a great tool to smooth the things that you need to do, right? So if I'm writing a correspondence or a policy or something like that, I think you use AI to help shape your thoughts and put you in the right spot. But I don't think it's ever going to get to the maturity that it needs to be to replace people doing these things. And I think your ability to communicate, particularly as you get higher up, because as a director, you're communicating with a limited number of people, making sure that certain business functions are running, right? As a security officer, you're doing certain functions, and you learn to communicate effectively as you go. AI is a tool to help you make that smoother and to give you resources that maybe you didn't have before and to write these things faster, but should never replace your ability to communicate. You have to maintain a sharp ability to have a conversation.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I think sometimes in some areas it's becoming a little bit of a lost art. Like doing this now, it's great. I know me and you were on the phone just before we recorded this, and it's like even like picking up the phone to people. I've just noticed hardly anyone does it anymore, and it's becoming like a bit of a USP because everyone's scared of the phone and scared of having a chat.
I don't recognize the number. I'm not answering it. Then why do you have a phone? Just have me email you or voicemail. If I wanted to text you something, then I would have texted you and not called you. Like, leaving a voicemail to me is still a professional courtesy, is something that should be done and received. I think that we're doing away, like there's some value with having conversations. There's some value. The means of communicating electronically is supposed to make like easier, but not replace the ability to effectively communicate face to face.
Yeah, definitely. And it's supposed to bring us closer together, not push us further apart. I have it in my social life, Dan. Some of my friends, I wind them up because I ring them and then they WhatsApp me going, "Hi, Tom, what's up?" It's like, I've just rang you. You obviously got the phone in your hand because you WhatsApp me straight back. It's like, just pick up the phone.
Yeah. Or you're sitting at a table. Like I still make sure that like with the family, we have game night, right? All the phones go on a counter. Yeah. We have conversation. We have fun playing games. Sometimes I'll do business functions with the team. Everybody put your phones in this box. We're not on our phones. And I think from my perspective, right, I tell my guys, you can use ChatGPT for certain things, but I want you to tell me if you're doing it, right? Because there's also the ability to be irresponsible with how to do these things as well.
There is. And I think having the underlying knowledge is vital because otherwise you can look really silly really quickly. Just like if you're using Nessus or something like that, it's good to know what the tool's doing. If you're using ChatGPT, I asked it a question once, Dad, about margin for contractors and stuff like that. And if I'd have listened to what it said, we'd have lost money. It was just completely wrong. You need to be able to fact check it, don't you?
Yeah. And you have to write the right prompts, right? Because it just wants to answer your question. Yeah. The large language models are not perfect, right? Where they're learning from is not perfect. And you're still subject to learning it, right? Which is why AI security has been such a huge thing. How are you monitoring drift? How are you monitoring data poisoning? All these other types of things. I really think that AI is a risk, and particularly when you, as a recruiter, like they're writing resumes using AI. They've never had that experience. And how do you fact check that? So that's brutal. It's good. We did a webcast one time, a webinar here recently. There was like AI friend or foe. AI is neither, right? The friend or foe is the person who's using AI. AI is just a tool.
It is. On the recruitment side, by the way, in a lot of respects, it's making it harder and it's making it longer because people can look great on paper. And whereas before you could pick people out quickly, jump on a call, have an interview, and you could get a shortlist together quickly or see what was going on pretty quickly. But now it's just, people can look phenomenal on paper and they're not. You get them on the phone and they're just not.
Yeah. From the other side of that, when you're submitting resumes, you have to be cognizant of the ATS, right? How all those automated systems work and how do you get flagged? And this is why, particularly the higher up you get, relationships make a difference because you can submit resumes all day long. Like that resume is just a confirmation normally of what people already know about you, right? Your network and how you maintain your relationships make a difference.
It does. You mentioned there about just being honest, and just for everyone listening, like that's such a big one. Like, I've got a few clients where they'll ask a question that's impossible to answer just because they want someone to go, "I don't know, I'm not sure," or "Do you mind if I quickly jump on Google or ChatGPT and find out?" Like they want to know that honesty is in people and they've got the confidence to say, "I'm just not sure here, can I have a bit of help?" And a big thing, and not everyone does it. So I think it's worth mentioning that you said it. It's a good point.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct because I have asked stumpers in interviews. And the other one is I'm going to ask you things that you can't ChatGPT. Tell me what your perfect security operations center looks like. So if you don't have a basis of knowledge of security operations and all the things it entails, there's no way you could ChatGPT that and get something that sounds right. Yeah, so that's the two things. I will ask questions that are just impossible to answer. What is the nature of the universe? And then I will ask opinion questions that you can't derive. If you use ChatGPT to figure it out, it's going to be easy to pick up. So be sincere. People are hiring people. Right? Yeah. They're hiring skill sets, but really what they're hiring is people. And I can't tell you, like, particularly in the company I'm at now, it was mostly about culture, right? Do you fit the culture? Do you add to the culture? I'm a big fan of, if you are the right culture fit with the right attitude, I could teach you anything. And I'm willing to take a risk based off of, if you have the right work ethic, if you have the right attitude and you can fit into the culture, it makes a difference.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. That's how hard work, understanding business value, leveraging mentors, leveraging self-education through books or online. They're the relationships, like they're the main kind of 3, 4, 5 things you would say to optimize progression. Yeah.
Absolutely. And with the books piece, regardless of how you learn, never stop learning. You're never too high up the food chain to learn, particularly in the cybersecurity side. You have quantum cryptography. I don't know anything about quantum cryptography outside of what I read, but I study it every day because the board expects me to know it, right? So post-quantum cryptography and what is at risk and AI and all these new things, you're always going to be presented with new challenges. If you ever stop learning, then you rapidly become irrelevant.
Yeah. I think the thing is, like, if you go back, like, not even too long ago, if we go back, like, I don't know, 100 years and blah, blah, like education was saved for like the ultra rich and privileged. And it's now that we've got the internet and pretty much anyone can learn about anything for free. And it's almost like we've been given all this information, so we all just take it for granted. But before, it was behind a massive paywall and very few people could access it. But we need to make sure we're using it because it's all there now.
It is all there. The only thing I caution when you're doing that is make sure you have the right information from the right source, right? Opinion is not fact. So make sure that you learn from an accredited news source or an accredited source that is actually giving you good details, right? But you're right. The paywall's down, right? Elon Musk said, why are you paying for a college education when you can learn what you need to from college and get job experience? And I don't entirely agree with everything in that statement, but I don't disagree that the things are available.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like you're on it with your learning there, my friend. So you're learning quantum stuff and things like that. Is there any go-to areas online where you go to get reliable info? Or
I was a big fan of a cloud guru, right? It really helped me understand, because I've been doing this for a long time. So when the transition to cloud coming out of the military was a hard one for me. Not necessarily I didn't understand the concepts. You didn't have a server room, right? You didn't have all these things where I used to be able to get my hands on them and walk cables and do things. Couldn't do that anymore. So I used a cloud guru. And then nowadays, you can find more and more stuff on YouTube, right? You can find a channel that's dedicated to what you look for. I never bothered learning how to code. Then I took a couple quick courses because I hated it. I hated writing it. I hated dealing with it. I took a couple quick YouTube things. I took a Cloud Guru course, then using AI, Claude Code or Cursor. Now I'm writing scripts and integrations that I couldn't do 2 years ago, right? Use your resources that are available, but also be creative, right? Nothing replaces your mind. The human mind, to me, is one of the greatest tools and most underutilized resources that we have. So how you decide to employ it, your creativity should never be stifled. Creative problem solving, I think, is another skill set that unfortunately we're losing. Back in the day when you didn't have a hammer, you had to find a way to drive a nail, right? Whether you used a rock, used a wrench, or same thing goes today is if you have a problem to solve, you have a lot more resources at your disposal to solve them. Use them creatively to reach the right answer.
Yeah, no, thanks, Matt. And it's great what you're saying there about AI and coding, and it's basically put your ability to learn to code on steroids. And I've heard similar stories before, and I think that is one of the most beautiful things about AI is that if you're up for it, you're on it, you're energized, you're inspired, I think it can really accelerate your learning. I think I mentioned it before, but I've heard some great stories about people watching exploit code being built in front of them by AI. And they're just watching it again and again, and they're watching it being built in different ways, in different languages. And then their ability to write exploit code just gets really good really quickly. And it's, wow, like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then your ability to process indicators of compromise is doubled, right? Because now you understand what you're seeing. So then you take the code and execute it, watch it execute, see what happens. And then you see the results of the executed code, and then you'll walk it back and then you do it again. I feel bad for the longtime coders because they put in a lot of work. That AI has just leveled that playing field right out from under them. But coming out of college, you can now build and write code and program a lot faster. You don't really have any low-level coding anymore. Everybody's middle of the road coding, right?
Yes.
Everybody's mid-level coding because of AI. But I'm with you as well. You need to also be creative, break it down, figure it out, and use it to your advantage, because if not, the bad guys are.
Yeah, definitely. The way I think about it as well, I think in terms of people's career growth and career progression, if you're using AI to get better at coding and you're going on YouTube and learning how to improve your communication skills, all these things, the gap between someone that's doing that and someone that's not over 6, 12, 18, 36 months, the gap between those two people is going to get really big, really quick. So I think for people listening, that the opportunities with AI and everything out there are great, but you need to be on it because it's a great opportunity. But if you miss it, it's a way to get left behind, I think.
I absolutely agree. Never stop looking for things that differentiate you. For example, we now are big enough, right, that we're looking for privacy. And then, so do we hire somebody to do privacy, or do I get a privacy cert? Right. And then how do you do that? So can I get, I think it's CIPP. I think it is a certification as the privacy professional. So even when you hit the CISO level, right, there's different things to go horizontally, right? You can take risk courses, you could take privacy courses. There's just things that help you be better. I would say that right now, I'm probably not a privacy expert, but the way that everything is going, and with the use of AI and things of that nature, privacy is going to be the next risk-based decision point. So now we're going to have to, if it's not already, so now I need to apply myself on privacy and get smart. And I think it's just recognizing where the trends are and applying yourself appropriately.
Yeah. And you mentioned about how you're at CISO level now, but you're still doing the privacy stuff. And I think it's good for your self-development, but for the team as well. I think people want to work for someone that's still got that hunger, still got that drive. It inspires the team. People want to work harder for someone like that. So in a leadership capacity, it's great for you, but it's great for everyone.
I agree. And if I've always said, I will follow somebody who will apply themselves the way I do. And right now, I would like to say a friend and mentor, my current CEO, Travis Howerton, has taught me, right, when you put a C in front of your name, you could never have a bad day, right? There's no bad days when you do that. So you need to handle yourself in a manner in which you would want your people to be. And I think about that every day. I think that's one of the best quotes I've ever had. The other one was from an Army major I work with. His name was Chris O'Gay. I've lost track of him over the years, but he said one thing that I'll never forget. He said, nobody is totally useless. They can always serve as an example of what not to do. So you need to make a decision on what type of example you want to be.
Yeah, you can learn something from everyone.
Yep. Whether it's good or bad, you'll learn something. It's all tools in your toolbox.
Yeah, no, cool, definitely. So as we come to the end now, one of the questions I was going to ask was, which book or podcast has had the most positive effect on you? I know you've mentioned a couple of different books already. It can be security related. Is anything that's made you the best version of yourself? Is there anything you've read over the years that could help others that's really stood out?
I would say The 7 Habits of Effective People. I think that's a good baseline. So it's a good place to start. And then you just layer on top from there, right? You have to have good time management. You have to understand how to be effective at a personal level. And then once you understand that, then you can layer in all of the other books and references that I talk about. I listen to so many podcasts, right? Because I'm doing work or doing different things. I pick a lot of different podcasts. I listen to your podcast. There's the new CISO. There's the CISO Tradecraft, right? So I think if somebody's talking about it, right, then you should be listening. And because you can always pick up something from something. I normally just start the first one. I don't care if it was 4 years ago, or I don't care if it was 4 months ago. I'll just start listening through till I get to the end of the series, and then I'll pick up another one. So it's just, you have to consume. And once you consume it, okay, that guy wasn't worth listening to, or this guy had a nugget that I think was great. I'm going to hang on to that one. So you're just adding, my dad said this when I was young, right? You're going to keep tools, you're going to get better tools, right? How you manage your toolbox is very important.
Yeah. Now, the compound effect of that over time is massive as well. I just find carrying these everywhere with me now, apologies for everyone just listening, like just having them and having them in and just making sure that what's going in there, my content diet, if you like, making sure the diet of what I'm putting in my ears is high quality, because it does make a difference.
Yeah, it does. Being discerning matters. As you get older and more mature in your career, right, you will establish your baseline of wisdom, and that wisdom, you use that to be discerning.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right, my friend. Do you think we've done okay? Do you think we've done a good job on this show? Do you think we've about covered everything?
I had a great time. I was like, I enjoy speaking about my journey. I'd get to where I wanted to get to, but I'm very proud of the fact I've been able to bootstrap my way up. And I'm always happy to share any lessons I've learned over the course of 35 years, I guess now. Gosh, I'm getting old. Thomas, I'm getting old.
No, it's been nice, mate. And yeah, no, thanks for unpacking it as well. I've enjoyed it. It's been good. But no, honestly, mate, thanks. It's just been a nice, natural chat, and I've enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. It's good fun. I really enjoyed talking. I've enjoyed talking to you specifically, but I really enjoyed talking about this subject.
Yeah, thanks, mate.